Hello. Lewis's ideal landscape will always have streams in it, and that delight in rivers and brooks and any other water feature actually carries over into his stories. I've been reading his letters. This is the first of 3 volumes of the published ones, and we owe a lot to his correspondence with his Belfast friend Arthur Greaves. Long letters. And there's this brilliant one from spring 1930, describing in detail one of his walking tours, this one with Owen Barfield and Cecil Harwood, very close friends, and on Exmoor in the west of England. And for instance, he describes rushing streams suddenly appearing out of the fog one day, and then the adventure of crossing Badgery Water in bright sunshine the next. We had to ford the Badgery, not very easy, as, like all mountain streams, it will be 6 inches deep in one place and 5 feet the next, ice cold and the bottom slippery. Barfield created great amusement by putting his socks in his boots and trying to throw them across a narrow place so that he should not have that encumbrance while wading. Instead, they lit in the middle, and after sailing a few yards like high-pooped galleons, lit on the top of a fall where they stuck, rocking with the current and threatening every second to go sailing down into a whirlpool beneath. I, who was already safe on the farther shore, ran down in my bare feet and hoiked them to land with a stick. And we sat down for about half an hour with our backs against a little cliff of rock in the sun and out of the wind to eat chocolate and dry and warm our numbed legs. The first bumblebee buzzed by us. The colours of the stream, broken by a series of falls above us and floored with green, brown, golden and red stones, were indescribable. Then he describes the wonder of listening to the stream at night as he lay in bed in a farmhouse. I shared a room with Barfield, lay awake a little while, listening to the noise of the stream, which is only about 20 feet from the farmhouse, and under that noise, a profound silence. These Exmoor farms are the loveliest habitations you can imagine. And then the next day, they walked through the Valley of Rocks near the coast, which has no stream in it. After lunch, our route lay along the cliffs and through the Valley of Rocks, which I'd not greatly admired. A place of enormous crags without water is a little bit horrible. One needs a stream to give these huge carcasses a soul, don't you think? It makes sense then that in the Narnia stories, streams and rivers often give soul to his landscapes. So the babbling sound of streams in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is one of the first signs of the end of the witch's oppression, the beginning of the delights of the first spring in 100 years, and freedom from the icy grip of the White Witch's winter, from the grip of evil. The Great River is a chief geographical feature running right through the heart of Narnia in Prince Caspian, and at Baruna, once the river god has been liberated, with much splashing, screaming and laughter, the revellers waded or swam or danced across the ford. And then in a still and beautiful scene, after everything's been set right in Narnia, everyone rests from their celebrations and their feasting. And one by one, they fall asleep around the bonfire under the moon, and the chattering of water over stone can be heard through the night as they sleep at peace. It brings soul to the place. A river at the bottom of the garden is one of the things that Diggory misses most when he's brought to London, to the city, in The Magician's Nephew. And in that book, the Great River of Narnia is one of the very first things created by Aslan in the New World, even before the sun rises for the first time. There's no river in the city of Charn, in the witch's world. She has uttered the dreadful incantation which kills all life, and it seems the river too has been turned to a gully of grey dust. It's the antithesis of the great river in Narnia, and the antithesis of the psalmist's image of joy in the city. There is a river, the streams whereof make glad the city of God. God is in the midst of her. A river brings life and joy with all its Holy Spirit resonances. A river is never just a river. It's the Jordan, it's the brook Jabbok, it's the river that flows from under the throne of God in Ezekiel. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is a very watery book. It's a book full of baptisms, actually. The children pass through the sea, even as they enter the world, arriving in the water beside the Narnian ship. Eustace is baptized in a mountain pool by Aslan when he delivers him from his dragon body and his dragonish ways on Dragon Island. The sweet waters of the last sea are like drinkable light, Reepicheep says, when he too falls into it and passes through the water. Caspian says, that's real water, that. I'm not sure that it isn't going to kill me. It's a taste of the real water, you see, the living water. And it kills our earthly nature just as it brings life. Our ordinary water is only a sign and shadow of it. Lucy calls it the loveliest thing I ever tasted. And she goes on, but oh, it's so strong. We shan't need to eat anything now. And they feel overwhelmingly strong and well, and it makes them able to bear the increased brilliance of the sun, which is now 6 times bigger. And now they can look directly into it. The water sends them silent. They no longer need to sleep. And 1 or 2 of the sailors who had been oldish men when the voyage began now grew younger every day. Their bodies are being transformed, renewed. They're very close to Aslan's country, you see. And Reepicheep is quivering with happiness when he crosses the great green wall of water to get there at the end to Aslan's country. And that too is a kind of baptism, a passing through the waters, a going through death into a new life. In The Horse and His Boy, Shasta, Aravis, Hwyn and Bree cross the desert from Calaman into Archenland as they travel north towards freedom in Narnia. And it's kind of like the journey out of slavery in Egypt through the desert and across the river into the promised land. At first, the desert looks to Shasta absolutely dead, like something in a dead world. And the heat and the glare are appalling. But ultimately they reach a valley and eventually a brook, a stream, a river, and in one of my favourite Narnia moments, marking this crossing from the arid desert into a new green land full of life, there's another baptismal moment when Shasta plunges right into the river and ducks his head under a cataract of water, washing away the dust of the desert. And it was perhaps the loveliest moment of his life. And later on, a remarkable thing happens to reassure Shasta that the encounter he has with Aslan in the mountains wasn't just a dream. For one thing, there's a very large imprint of the lion's paw in the grass. But more importantly, while Shasta's staring at it, it fills up with water. It begins to overflow and creates a small stream. And Shasta drinks at some length and splashes his face with it. It was extremely cold and clear as glass and refreshed him very much. There was something miraculous about this provision of water and the almost supernatural refreshment that it brings. And now I'm thinking of Peter saying on the day of Pentecost, times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord. You remember it in Acts 3. And then near the stable in the last battle, during the final conflict between Tirion, last king of Narnia, and the Calamines, there's a white rock gleaming like marble in the light of the fire, which becomes a landmark for the Narnian fighters to return to during the battle. And at one point they find water trickling down the rock, making a small pool at the bottom which they can drink. Such was their thirst that it seemed the most delicious drink they had ever had in their lives. And while they were drinking, they were perfectly happy and could not think of anything else. It's a remarkable moment of gladness surrounded by enemies in the dark of night and the horror of battle. And it reminds us of the table prepared for us in the presence of our enemies, and the rock struck by Moses, which gave forth water to quench the Israelites' thirst, and became an emblem in the New Testament of Christ and his life-giving spirit. And lastly, there's a stream bright as glass at the start and finish of the Silver Chair, on Aslan's mountain beyond the edge of the Narnian world. And in language which is freighted with spiritual meaning, Jill says, "I'm dying of thirst." "If you are thirsty, come and drink," says the lion, in the very words Jesus shouts out at the Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem. And the writer of that story points out Jesus was talking about the Holy Spirit, rivers as rivers of living water pouring from within. "I daren't come and drink," says Jill. "Then you will die of thirst," Aslan replies. It's not a threat, it's just a fact. "There is no other stream," he says. And when Jill eventually gets to drink from the stream, it's the most refreshing water she had ever tasted. And just a few mouthfuls quench her thirst in a moment. And then at the end of the book, we're back there on the mountain, and the aged King Caspian is lying dead in the stream, with the water flowing over him like liquid glass. And a drop of Aslan's own blood into the water restores the king to life and to youth. And he leaps out of the water, kissing and being kissed by Aslan, and he turns to Eustace and Jill with a great laugh of astonished joy, it says. All these moments of joy, linked by Lewis to water, sparkle like streams themselves as they wind their way through the tales. And the stories themselves are like riverbeds that bring us rivers of refreshing and life and great laughs of astonished joy.